Du hast ja keine Ahnung, wie schön du bist, Berlin.
Hello and welcome back to the Berlin Film Festival. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. And of course, today's psychogeographic bulletin comes to you from the Pariser Platz opposite the Brandenburg Gate, because I am, at all events, unafraid of visual cliché, which I think you'll agree is very refreshing of me. And the gate was in East Berlin in the days of the wall, which in psychogeographic terms means that it could be karmically saturated in tragedy. Peter Hujar was a brilliant photographer and stylish gay man of the 70s and 80s, associated with Andy Warhol and Robert Mapplethorpe, and part of a hip New York coterie of artists and intellectuals. In 1974, he took part in a kind of documentary non-fiction project undertaken by author Linda Rosenkrantz, in which he simply came to her apartment and recounted into a tape machine everything that happened to him on a certain day. The tape is now lost, but the typescript survived, published 4 years ago as Peter Hujar's Day, and now filmed by director Ira Sachs as a verbatim cinema chamber piece, entirely within Rosenkrantz's apartment, sometimes in different rooms or pensively up on the roof, looking out at the skyline. Shot to make it look as if it was filmed on 16mm at the time, with ungainly cuts and scratches on the print. Rebecca Hall plays Rosenkrantz, asking questions and listening with a continuous air of alert, slightly quizzical and sympathetic amusement. Ben Whishaw is Hujar himself, telling her about a day which he considered quite boring, but was, he now realises, crowded with incident, worrying about money, worrying about lack of sleep, going to Allen Ginsberg to photograph him for the New York Times, a rather surreal encounter, coming back, having a Chinese meal with someone, and finishing the day by playing Bach on the harpsichord. Whishaw is conscientiously low-key and focused, maintaining a realist, matter-of-fact consistency of pace and tone, only occasionally and subtly suggesting his own emotional reaction to what he is saying, very different from how it might be written as a fictional dramatic monologue. There are no phases of tears or laughter or sudden quiet-voiced moments of self-knowledge. Sachs leaves it up to us to edit the unedited stream of consciousness and to isolate the Leopold Bloom or Molly Bloom moments of importance. When Hujar went to Ginsberg, the poet disconcerted the photographer by chanting in the middle of the shoot and suggesting that Hujar suck the cock of his next scheduled subject, William Burroughs. And if all this was insufferable, Hujar doesn't say so. It is, in fact, another reminder of how hugely famous and therefore indulged Ginsberg was. Hujar drops a fair few names in the course of this piece, and one of the least important, he implies, is his journalist friend Fran Lebowitz, who he thinks could maybe write an introduction to his next published collection of photos, although, naturally, he would prefer the more celebrated Susan Sontag. "I've always had a star thing," he sheepishly confesses. What would Hujar and Rosenkrantz say if you could time travel back to 1974 and explain that in 50 years' time, Fran Lebowitz would be more famous than any of them? He's also getting long-sighted. Rosenkrantz agrees she has bursitis, and they both thought that these old people things could never happen to them. On the subject of long-sightedly having to stand back and look at something, Hujar regales Rosenkrantz with the story of photographer Morris Hogenboom, who was on a shoot in Brazil, stood back to look at something, fell off a cliff, and died. Perhaps the most important moment comes with an epiphany of sorts, as Hujar reveals that he has recently only grasped, perhaps at this very moment, that you need time to be a photographer or any sort of artist. Time to think, time to work, time to stand and stare. Maybe this real-time transcription of his day has disclosed this to him. It's an intriguing experiment in recovering the moment-by-moment reality of a lost time and place. And that's it for today. Please give this vlog a like and a share. Please subscribe and leave a comment giving me some hints about where to eat in Berlin. And please, because I have basically no self-respect left, can I ask you to buy my book, The Body in the Mobile Library and Other Stories. Auf Wiedersehen!